everybody, and welcome to day 5 of lockdown. I hope you're doing well, keeping safe, and also keeping sane. It's a difficult time for many people out there, and you got to do the best that you can. And I hope that in some way these videos help. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about stress and what you can do about it, and also understand it a little bit better. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is a small bit of biology. So if you take two genetically identical cells and you place them in two separate petri dishes, the culture medium in those petri dishes will ultimately determine the fate of those cells. So Bruce Lipton, the biologist, often describes the human being as a skin-covered petri dish, where we have, I think it's like 30 trillion cells in our body, and all of these cells exist in a medium, and that medium is our blood. So what determines the destiny or the fate of our cells is the culture medium that they exist in. And what determines the composition of our blood, that culture medium, is our brain and the thoughts we have and the feelings we feel. Because every time we think about something or feel something, our brain releases chemicals in line with those thoughts and feelings that enter our blood and create a specific type of medium. Now, if you are perceiving love, feeling love, then your brain will release a chemical called oxytocin. And this oxytocin is conducive for growth, conducive for connection, and it will enter your bloodstream, and the cells that exist in that culture medium called your blood will flourish, will thrive in that medium. The opposite is also true. So if you are having stressful thoughts, fearful thoughts, if you are steeped in anxiety all of the time, your brain is releasing a whole host of chemicals from cortisol to adrenaline to norepinephrine, all these stress hormones. And what these are doing are creating a very toxic environment for your cells to live in. Now, these chemicals are very necessary when you are under threat, but your body, your cells are not designed to stay in this medium, in this kind of medium for extended periods of time. And unfortunately, when you're under stress for a long period of time, that's what the culture medium becomes. That's what your blood becomes. And this invariably begins to create a very toxic environment for your cells to exist in. Your cells will then rewrite their DNA, will rewrite their programming based on this toxic environment, and disease can happen and a whole host of other things. So how do you stop this process? How do you begin to deal with your stress where you are not releasing endless amounts of these very harmful chemicals? And just by the way, I work in a lot of organizations where when we're dealing with culture of teams and the organization itself, the culture of an organization is often described by the people who work there as toxic. So what are they really talking about here? They're talking about the environment that is affecting how they are able to work and whether they can perform or flourish. And nobody's able to flourish in a toxic environment. So on planet Earth right now, each human being could be seen as a cell in itself, and we exist in this atmosphere, in this environment that we're creating. And right now, the environment is so steeped in fear and in anxiety that it becomes incredibly difficult for some people to exist, to flourish, to even survive. Okay, so that was just an aside. So what do we do about this? So the first thing is, what is stress? And stress is defined as a response to a perceived threat. And this perceived threat is either real or imaginary. And it's a threat to our security, our body, our physicality. The stimulus can be both internal and or external, and it is physical, mental, or emotional. So first and foremost, stress is a response to a perceived threat. Now, what causes it? There are four main causes of stress, and the first one is uncertainty. Now, just think about where you currently find yourself right now. Everything is uncertain, all right? The future is very uncertain. How long we stay in lockdown is incredibly uncertain. So we are in a high level of uncertainty right now, and therefore your body is producing a whole host of stress hormones based on this uncertainty. The second one is when there's a lack of information, we go into stress. And if you go into social media, watch the news, you are inundated with information. But a lot of it is very contrasting, a lot of it is very negative. And I think as much as lacking information, you can be inundated with too much information, and that too causes stress. And I think it's where we currently find ourselves as well. The third one is when there is a lack of or loss of control. And think about it, right now you have very little control over what is happening in your life. You've been told to stay indoors, to not connect with anybody physically outside of your home, right? So a large part of the way we live our lives is we've lost control over that. And then the fourth one, where there is a lack of safety. Safety both physically and mentally and emotionally as well. So we are not safe, all right? There is a threat. How real it is remains to be seen, I think. But for now, all four of these main characteristics of stress are being triggered right now. This uncertainty, the lack of information or inundated with information, the loss of control, and the lack of safety. All of these are what is creating an internal environment that is toxic. And if you do not begin to deal with this effectively, okay, this will have a negative and long-lasting negative impact on your body and also on your external reality, because what is held in the mind will ultimately manifest. And if this is held within you, this is going to manifest in an external world as well. So how do you deal with these stresses? What is it that you need to do to let go of these stresses? Now, in theory, it sounds easy, but I'm sure you know by now that it's not. The first thing is you've got to let go. You've got to let go of the struggle that you are putting yourself in. Think about it right now. How do you create certainty? How do you gain some level of control and sift through all of this tremendous amount of information? How do you establish safety? Right? And you probably can't. It's probably not something that is possible right now. And in saying that, you still have to deal with your stress. So you have to arrive at a place of acceptance of this is it, this is where we are right now. Okay, again, not easy to do, but there are certain things that you can start to take care of, certain basic things, from eating well. Okay, I know since this lockdown I haven't stopped eating, and I'm eating everything in sight, and I'm needing to be more disciplined around my eating, because it's going to ultimately have an effect on how I manage what is happening in my life right now. So make sure that you're eating well, make sure you're hydrated, you're drinking lots of water. Sleeping, make sure you're getting enough rest, that's important. Exercising, okay, these are the basics that need to be taken care of so you can mitigate some of this effect that our current circumstances are having on us. Ground yourself. If you've got a garden and you can step onto the grass or sand, natural surface, barefoot, do that. It goes a long way in relieving stress. There's a lot of research about that. So ground yourself. Do it for about 30 minutes a day if possible. But any kind of time will have beneficial results on you. So do those things regularly. And then the last one is meditate. Right? If you are not currently meditating, all right, this might be a useful opportunity, a useful time for you to begin some form of meditation. Starting small in the beginning. There are an endless amount of apps you can download that will instruct you on meditation. Go onto YouTube, you'll find a whole lot of material there. But it is important that you begin to quieten your mind, because what you are ultimately doing is you are practicing presence when you're doing that. And that, again, as a follow-on through meditation, is this idea of practicing moment by moment awareness. So if you're sitting watching this, all right, just for a moment, pause and become aware of your environment, where you find yourself right now at this moment. What sounds are there around you? What can you smell? What are you feeling, right, on your skin and also internally? What's the internal environment? As you tap into this, you are becoming more and more in tune and aware with what is happening around you. This is moment by moment awareness. And when you start to practice this on a daily basis, in the practicing of it, you begin to take yourself out of this quagmire that you find yourself in with everything that's going on around you, and you bring yourself into the present moment. And the more you begin to practice that, the more you begin to practice present moment awareness, whether it be making a cup of tea, cooking something, drinking a glass of water, or simply being with the people in your life. This becomes very powerful in you creating a different internal environment, because as you are practicing moment by moment awareness, all of the noise, the drama that is happening out there is not present at that time, okay? Because you are so fully present in the moment. So what is held in the mind will manifest. What is held in the body will manifest. And you've got to become less toxic. It is very toxic out there in many ways. And it is incumbent on you to take care of yourself, to release some of this toxicity, because ultimately this is going to have an impact on a larger scale. And if more of us are able to do that, to begin to operate from present moment awareness, all right, for our own sanity and our own health and well-being, but also in the greater scheme of things. I think that's it. So to sum up, there's not a lot you can do about the uncertainty, the lack of information, the loss of control, or the lack of safety. But what you can do is start to take care of some of those basics I spoke about earlier. And what you can do is begin to meditate. And what you can do and must begin to do more regularly is practice moment by moment awareness. Thank you again for tuning in. I'll check in with you again tomorrow, and please leave comments. And yeah, I'd like to hear from you. Take care and be safe.